right, the day we can have no shield and tingle on my mask. Here we go. Who's excited for no face shields today? Just for the fact that we have double the amount of people here, I know everybody's super excited. So welcome everybody. See a lot of new faces. So let's go over the agenda for tonight. If I can find it. All right. So every Thursday night we have our English meetings. During those meetings, we start with a message from an inspirational book. Then we have a prayer so we can all get connected on the same vibration, on the same mental level. And then we will have a lecture, a workshop. Each day will be something different. Every fourth Thursday of the month, we have a special program on meditation. So that's something to look forward to. After the lecture, we have few minutes of vibration, and that follows with our passes or treatments, depending on what you're here for. So simple, straightforward. So let's all enjoy it. So let's start tonight. Let's do everything different tonight. Instead of reading from an inspirational book, I'm gonna read from this book called Jesus at Home. This is a book that I really recommend for everybody that's doing gospel at home. It's a great passages, little lessons on Jesus' life while he's talking. Most of the lessons he's talking to the disciples and he's sharing a true loving message. So today we're gonna read one of those, and I'm just gonna open a random one. And that'll be the signs of a renewal. Quite fitting for our times. At a household gathering, the master began to speak persuasively. When the divine kingdom is at the gates of humankind, the soul of the world will be renewed. The person who is the most powerful will not be the one who is the most ruthless, but rather the one who loves the most. Conquerors will not be those who war against foreign enemies to the death in the rivers of blood, but rather those who combat the inequity and ignorance that lies within them until evil is wiped out in the realms of their own nature. The most eloquent will not be those with the most beautiful speech. Thank you. But rather those who combine holy words with actions to raise the quality of life wherever they may be. The noblest will not be those who hold the largest numbers of titles, granting them the transitory control of ephemeral lands on earth, but those who most intensely accrue the acclaims of love and gratitude in the hearts of mothers and children, the sick and the elderly, loyal and honest persons, hardworking and upright persons, and humble and kind ones. Those who are the most respected will not be dispensers of gold and armed might, but rather those with the purest hearts, those with the purest hearts. Those who are the holiest will not be the ones who isolate themselves on altars of supreme spiritual pride, avoiding contact with those who suffer because they are afraid of becoming dishonored and unclean, but rather those who come down from their aggrandizement, is that right? Extending fraternal hands to the wretched and suffering, raising their dilacerated souls to the realms of joy and understanding. The purest will not be those who flee from communicating with evil, avowed criminals, but those who dive into the mire to save their fallen brethren without contaminating themselves in the process. Those who are the most knowledgeable will not be the ones who have the most books and theories, but the ones who, even though they know little, try to light a lamp in the darkest that will envelop their closest neighbor. The divine friend rested his lucid eyes on the clear night that was shining outside the heart of nature, made a long pause, and then he emphasized, in that sublime age, people will not leave their homes to war in storms of blood and tear against their neighbors due to the desire for conquer or race hatred, because they will be busy waging against the darkness of ignorance, the open wounds of illness, the anguish of hunger, and moral torture of all of hues. When the plow replaces the opulent chariot of victory in public displays of collective grandeur, when a divine book takes place on the sword in the minds of people, when the goodness and wisdom preside over human competition so that good individuals may be revered, when personal sacrifice on behalf of all constitutes the true honor of individuality, so that peace and love do not lose their place in one's life, then there will be a new humanity in the luminous cradle of the divine kingdom. At this point, the swift and sovereign word made a slight pause, and there outside, in the warmth of the calm night, the resplendent stars sparkling high in the sky seemed to extol the distant era. Isn't that a beautiful message? This is for us the same exactly story that was 2,000 years ago when Jesus came and he was telling us there is a new way, and that way is love. So we've been listening to this message for 2,000 years, and now we are in place that we can practice, we can put that in the fruit of our labors and not just in the words of books. So I do recommend you guys check it out this book. If you do gospel at home, this is a great lesson. You can follow. It's not a story, so single messages that you can open at random or you can just follow the order if you wish. All right. So, as you all know, today we have a very special event. We have a invited speaker coming from he's practically our neighbor. He's from Miami, and I am going to. This guy is so awesome that if I'm gonna read here everything that he studies and that he researches, and even outside of the spiritual realm, he's in business, psychology, marketing, and
And I was on my way here. I was thinking about an opening. How am I going to start this lecture? Well, I found the answer. I was a little sleepy, so I made a few wrong turns coming here, and that's why I am late. But now, hopefully, I am awake and we're able to then continue and talk about it today. The theme that we are going to talk about. In this, when we study the situation of humanity and how humans live, we can easily see, even by our own lives, our own experience, that we are not fully awake because we live like we have everything like organized by necessity, mainly to do certain things and throughout our day, and we do that mostly for survival, which is extremely important for our experience here on earth, because we carry a mortal body that needs nourishment, rest, and so forth. So we're gonna talk more about that later. So in this state of slumber that I call, we have a experience like Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama, when after he became enlightened, he changed completely the way he viewed things, like his worldview. And people would ask him if he was a saint or if he was God. And he said, no. He said, so what are you? And he said, I am awake. So I see things in a more real way than when I was sleepy, seeking answers, but not finding them until one day, not one day, in his case, many years, meditating and almost starving to death to find enlightenment, to become awake. And he is like just like Jesus and some other great leaders that we know in history. Those awakened people are very few. Most of humanity, we still live our lives like in a sleepwalking way. So in this state that we are sleepy, slumbering, just like in a sleepwalk state, we live our lives haphazardly. There's not much direction. We might have goals and objectives, but they're not very organized because we have things we have to deal with our survival, mainly our hopes, our dreams, and those things um, that we want to have for ourselves. So we go after that. So we are not fully aware of what's happening inside us or with us or within us internally. Like a candle in the wind. We don't know exactly. It's everywhere. And survival and gratification are our priorities. Survival, obviously, it is necessary. And then as we go through the day, we're tired. We get home and we don't want to do much about other things. We want to rest, watch TV, and things like that. And we waste time in trivialities, which is good somehow. It's nice to go to the beach and rest. We deserve that. To go to uh, the mall and buy, 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 because it's even therapeutic until we get the credit card bill. Then things change, and we thought, why didn't I just stay home that day? Predomination of egotism and materialism. It's all me, myself, and I. So we are concerned about things that benefits us. Not much care is given to what might benefit others. And we are materialistic because we are, and this is normal when we, uh, throughout our lives, and obviously I identify all that in my life because when, we go through periods until one day we start questioning that, and that's why we are here. We have questioned. We are beginning to awake. That's why we're here. We want to know more. We want to go beyond. We want to transcend these things that we doesn't make us, those things that don't make us very happy. So we want to know more our true reality. And we, in this slumbering state, we don't question the reason of our existence. Why am I here? Or uh, where do I come from? Where do I go from here? What is the reason? What is the purpose of my life? And those are existential questions that the humans have questioned, not always finding answering for since we started having self-consciousness probably 200,000 years ago. And in this case, progress is limited or nearly no. We, as in each reincarnation, even if we don't do much, even if we live our lives, the whole entire existence that we here slumbering, still there is some kind of progress. And we learn in spiritism that we as a spirit, we do not regress. We might not progress, evolve as much in one incarnation, but we're not going to go back. We're not going to be worse than we were. Normally, we are better than that we were. Even today, our state, the state that we find ourselves in, even if the lifestyle that we have today, especially us, the more fortunate, let's say, that were able to come to the United States and enjoy amenities that we didn't find in our home country, be it Brazil or the country. So those are things that we progress. So things that for some reason we 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 won that through our existence. It's like a reward type thing. So we're enjoying it. Even if we are in this state, we are progressing somehow, even if it is just a little bit in each incarnation. And progress through our incarnation is very, very, very slow. It is certain there's always evolution, that there's always betterment, morally, spiritually, intellectually. We are evolving, even if it's just a little bit. But we can do more for our own benefit. And one of the reasons that we are here today is that because we have that consciousness that we can do more, we went after it. We sought it, we found it, we work on it. So we do more because we want to progress faster. Now, this is, I don't know if uh, you have seen this, the hierarchy of needs. This is Abraham Maslow was a very famous psychologist, a human psychologist. And in his studies of humans, and especially what drives people to do things that they do, what motivates them to do things that people do. So he came up with these needs. We are motivated by the fulfillment of certain needs that we have. And he made a hierarchy. He prioritized those needs from the most basics going up. And the idea of the pyramid was not his, but it chose very neatly by the size and also by their position in the pyramid, the pyramid, the ones that are greater, or the one, let's say, the ones that most people strive for, what they're motivated by. And the first one is physiological, and that goes pretty much without saying that is the priority, because without that foundation, we won't even be here. So first we need to attend to and fulfill the physiological needs of the body that we carry, the body that we as a spirit are inhabiting or using for us in order to live this incarnation and fulfill the mission of the work that we are here to do in this incarnation. And breathing, obviously, we need air, food, and water. That's the three things that we need, basically sex, but that, well, if you were married for a long time and you have problems, you see that that's not even a priority. We can survive without that. There's no problem, and there's a lot of people surviving without that, especially now in this quarantine. Everybody stay home, right, with children. If you have a family and there's no, forget your spare time or your privacy with a wife with 3, 4 children running out of the house. So you hope and pray for COVID to go away. We need sleep, extremely important, obviously. Homeostasis, equilibrium, balance of everything. So homeostasis is what our body, when the system physiologically, that's a mechanism that is in our body. That's one of the greatest, most beautiful things that there is. The body has a way to regulate when it's healthy, to regulate itself. That's why our temperature is 37 degrees or 97 Fahrenheit, 37 Celsius. That's the optimum temperature for the body to keep everything good. So when we have a disease or something, a virus or whatever, temperature goes up. The system does that because high temperature is easier to fight intruders, especially bacteria and stuff. And then once it's done, homeostasis, equilibrium come again. And we notice this equilibrium when we eat. For instance, we are hungry, we are out of balance, we eat, we're satisfied, we go back to balance, and obviously all the other needs. Now, what kind of organisms have this physiological needs as their priority? All of them, everything that's living, animals, insects, people, bacteria, even bacteria, they have some like consciousness, even if it's very rudimentary, but it needs to eat, especially, and they like to eat ourselves. That's why we get sick. So everything, 100% of humanity, of humans, are striving for that every day, for at least for the first three. There's a lot of striving for the other one, but not everybody's successful. And then safety is another need that is essential. We need to be safe. We need to be protected from aggression or from injury. And way back then, when we were starting our evolution, our humans as hunter-gatherers in the wild, hunting to eat. So we'd be at the mercy of animals and all that. So our safety was always threatened. And if you're not safe, you die, you get killed. So we need to be safe. And in society today, we have physical safety. We have to be healthy. We need to have employment, some kind of resources that keep us going, keep us sane. And so we need that that's a need that we need in order to survive well, at least reasonably well. And the safety, everybody wants safety. And we know, like we see wars and all that, what happens when people don't have safety. They don't live that long. They're killed. And therefore, they leave the earthly life for the next one will come back. But that safety is something that I could say easily that everybody, every human wants safety in order to survive. So that's 100%. We have another one, love, belonging. I'd say also that everybody wants to do that, wants to have friendship, family, and there it is again. So we have to have this need because we need each other. We need to be involved. We need intimacy, relationship, friendship, all those people, all those things that it is enjoyable. It is good for the for our psyche, for even for our emotions and health, and that's important. Maybe not everybody, not 100%, maybe is like that need is a priority. Maybe not 100%, maybe 90%, 80%. Self-esteem, that's a need that is also important. Self-esteem, that's extremely important. Confidence, achievement, respect to others, respect by others. So this esteem, like to be happy with the things that we're doing. We we work, we study. It's nice to feel good about ourselves, to be confident, to achieve things. And when we fail, most in that we see depression, we see anxiety, we see things that are not good. Maybe not everybody um, has that because we can see, but we could see that nearly 100% also will strive to have that need, to fulfill that need, the esteem need. And then Maslow, from all his research that he did, he found that people are also driven, they also strive to fulfill a need that he called self actualization. Is that after you have all of these four needs fulfilled, there's one that you can survive physically or even emotionally with three of them. Maybe with the bottom two you could live. But there are certain people that they're driven by another set of needs that he called self actualization. Now, the idea is for us to keep in mind is that all those three needs, people and even self esteem, we are driven to achieve. We take steps, we do whatever it takes. We go to school, we go to work, we make friends. So it's something that comes in from inside us to fulfill those four needs. And the self actualization also, it is something that we are driven. And then he had to, what is this self actualization? A person who, or people who strive to fulfill this need. What's special about this need? What is it? Because it's not esteem, it's not love, belonging, not safety, and it has nothing to do with physiology. So he came up with that self actualization are people who strive to be moral. So morality is one virtue that is within the self actualization. We need to be moral. We want to. We strive to do that. Also, creativity. We have talents. We are musicians or whatever, painters, and we have that creativity. We strive to fulfill, to express, to show. It's something that it is important and satisfies us. Spontaneity, problem solving. We want to be able to solve problems. And then there's the two. There's more to that, like spirituality. is also in there. It's not written there, but it's one of them. Lack of prejudice. So an acceptance of facts. Lack of prejudice is you accept people the way they are. We even accept uh, us the way we are. And we accept the facts. We know there are things that we can do something about, and we know that there are things that we cannot do anything about it. So we accept. So, and we, after all those needs, we're going to self actualize and we're going to strive. It's something that nothing is telling us to do that, not even our physiology, because our stomach tells us when we're hungry. But this, nothing tells us, something that is driven from inside us, it comes from us. So we have 100%, let's put another 100, 90, 80% steam, maybe 20% can survive. Now, people striving to be self actualized. So those are the people who are at the top, let's say the saints, or the great minds. According to Maslow, 2% of humans are worried about that. 2% of 7.4 billion people on Earth. 7.4 billion people on Earth are striving physiologically to survive every day. Safety. There we have 2% of those who's good in math there. 14 million, not even there, right? Is that you? Well, you're good at that, right? Or get a calculator. So it's just too small percentage. That's why humans, not because they don't want to, maybe this 2%, they're not yet evolved enough to get to that point. It's like just survive, like animals. You eat and you sleep. And we, when we awaken, and it is that's why we're here, we want to be among those 2%. Actually, we want to make 3%, 4%, 5%. When we talk about in Spiritism, we talk about that a lot, right? About the regeneration of the planet. Actually, it's not the planet that regenerates, it's us. So the regeneration, our regeneration from a state that we're now still a little sleepy to one that we are awakened, to be part of that 2%, to increase those 2%, it takes time. It takes many, many incarnations. But for us, and maybe lucky for us, is that when we start questioning who we are, where we came from, why we're here, especially in Spiritism, that we are concerned about service and serving others and stuff, then we are on the way to that 2%. We want to be awake. We want to fulfill that. And then we regenerate us. And we regenerate the planet slowly. Because when we say that, when we see the state of humanity or the human race, normally we see it from the outside. Look how they are. They are like that. They, not us, but it's us. We are in there. We are the society. And we might have, or we might be contributing to those things that we don't approve, that we don't agree, but we don't see it. We see others, like we see the wood in people's eye, but we don't. I mean, we see the thing, the dust in people's eyes, but we don't see the wood in our eyes. So we see other, but it's us, and we start improving society by improving us, because we are the society that sometimes we criticize. Now, and we are evolving spirits. Like I mentioned before, we are in a state today in our evolution that it is the best that we have achieved so far. And we have been worse. Not worse in the sense of not being a good person, but in less developed states. If we go back 200, 300 years ago, we will see that society was not as developed as today. We didn't have all the amenities that we had today. We are not as evolved intellectually as we are today, especially when we see children today, 5, 6, 7 years old, using technology, cell phones, and computers. They're much more developed than we were. My grandson is 6 years old, and he uses it's incredible. He teaches me with that. You know, he knows. He doesn't, well, he writes, but he has problem writing. So you have voice thing that he asks, likes dinosaurs and things like that. So he asks and asks a lot of questions about a lot of questions. And then when he come and ask me for something that I don't know, to ask Google, and he goes there and asks Google, and he's 6. Well, when I was 9 years old, and I think I was a prodigious person, also technologically, I was learning how to type when I was 9, but not the mechanical machine, no electric. There's no electrical typewriter back then. So we have evolved so far, and we will continue our evolution even if we don't do much. But if we do some, it's better for us. We evolve faster. And there's like 2 ways to evolve, to improve. The easy way, which is on our own initiative. We do things, we take steps, we proactively seek our betterment, be intellectually, be morally, be spiritually, whatever it is. We take the initiative and we go for it. And then there is the hard way. Life finds a way to get us moving, to wake us up out of our slumber. And it's fascinating. It's beautiful how it happens. And I'm pretty sure that we're going to talk about something here that we might have experienced ourselves. Now, to evolve is our destiny. There's no way that we will not evolve. It might be slow, it might take time, but we will. And we have on question 783 of the Spirits book, Kardec asks, does the improvement of the human race always follow a slow progression? It's always progress slowly. He knew it, so he asked that question. And then the answer was, there is the regular, slow progress that results from the force of things. Just like, just for us being here, just for us having had the experience of physical birth in this new incarnation. Let's say if we have an opportunity, like many of us had, of coming here and learn another language. And it is a huge improvement. Maybe we already knew this language before in other incarnation, but then we decided to be born in our countries, Brazil or other countries, and then for some reason, life puts us here. And why are we here? Why did life put us here? Because this is where we need to be for us to fulfill the mission that we are here to fulfill. We can't escape our destiny. We're gonna be there. There's no way that we can run away. If we try, we'll come back if that's the mission. So that's just for this, the force of things. propels us forward. But they go on. When people don't advance quickly enough, God sends from time to time a physical or moral shock that hastens its transformation, that makes a slumbering community or people a sleepy one to awake. It's like your alarm clock. It is time to wake up. Now, we are going through this crisis, COVID-19, a pandemic, that, and then this is a crisis, and there are other crises. They work as consciousness awakeners. A lot of people, when you see what, especially people who were unfortunate to have acquired and the, the the disease or the virus, and or who died or who had loved ones die, several millions worldwide now. They, when you hear report of those who survived or spent time in the ICU, there is transformation. And we see transformation in our daily lives. For instance, we've never, now, they're relaxing a little bit, but in the beginning, that we spend time with our children, we had to change radically the way we lived our lives. We had to make adjustments in order to survive. Even in our relationships, we had to make adjustments because it's a new reality. So we stopped. It was a crisis that made us stop and think, what is happening? And a lot of people have changed forcibly because it was like a providential work, the hand of God telling you to do that. And this is just a simple one. And this COVID-19 is a awakener, light one. It's just from the nap. And if we don't change, there will be more. Until we wake up, there's we in our history, the history of the earth, even the earth itself, there's always existed all those crises, huge ones, huge ones. To the time of the dinosaur, the extinction of the dinosaurs, 63 million years ago, there were five. That was the last one, the big of the fifth. Every five of them destroyed almost the whole entire life that was on Earth. In the beginning, it was just little bacteria and plants. 89% of life destroyed. Several million years ago, there's a surge of life again from the 5 or 10 or 15% that survived. Better, more complex, more beautiful, better organized. All of them, in all of them, you can see destruction because it's not evolving fast enough. Then there is this I'm on the wrong side. Then there's this shock, this physical shock that transforms. The dinosaur, the last one, also almost 90% of life on Earth vanished for million of years until the atmosphere cleared. There's no life. And then once it cleared, there was a necessity for improvement. So the ugly creatures that children love, the dinosaurs, gave way to nice species, including us humans. So we can see when we study crisis and destruction, we can see that after each one of them, there was improvement. It was a necessity. We can see that in the Black Plague in Europe in the 14th century that destroyed about half of the population of Europe. Mostly poor, miserable, unemployed, and Europe back then was dirty. And then there's that crisis. People That was a pandemic, and the people infected would live like 5 6 days max. They did drop dead. There's no vaccine, and people had no idea what was causing it. There's a feudal system, a lot of injustice, corruption, even in the church and all that. And then there's that plague. You see it, it's terrible. All the deaths. Then things started to settle. It's the hand of God working, and we see the Renaissance. We see a renewal. We see a different economic system, democracy. All things that change. The old will die, including our old selves, our old mentality, our old consciousness, because that it cannot sustain the passage of time or progress. So we evolve or we're left behind. We're going to evolve eventually. So crises come and go, and what we do with them, we learn from them. We learn from them. So the crisis that we are experiencing now, we can see it. And this is a crisis that is global. It's universal. It's every country, with few exceptions, are not experiencing it. Mostly are, some more than others. It's a call to spirituality, to awake us from the slumber of egotism and the slumber of materialism. That there's more to you than what you think there is, that we have not noticed because we are focused on other things. He invites us to take an inner journey. We can see it. We have more time to think. And then there's the questions that we ask in those crises when we take this inner journey that has nothing to do with what you're going to eat or if you're safe or not. Things that your consciousness requires of you. And especially in the COVID, people staying home, we saw a lot of people who are not reconciled. There's increase of domestic violence, for instance. So in our goal in our evolution, for us to go to the top of the pyramid in the 2%, we have to be there. We have to reconcile with everybody who are part of our evolution here. We are all evolutionary partners, family members, friends, those are close to us. We're partners, and most likely we organized together before coming here, this journey together for mutual benefit. Have we forgiven those who have offended us? That's another thing. We must learn how to forgive. We must forgive in love. Have we asked forgiveness from those we offend? We have offended. Is our consciousness at peace? How are we using our time in this incarnation? So those are questions, those are crises that are universal, like I said. But we have our own individual wake-up calls, awakeners, that we can see that with people who experience, for instance, a health problem, severe health problem, or the death of a loved one, or you go bankrupt, or some kind of personal crisis that make you stop and think. One of the greatest personal experience that is a personal wake-up call is the so-called near-death experience. So what is near-death experience? It's someone, for some reason, or due to an accident or a heart condition, uh, drowning, those are common. They have this experience that they die momentarily for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 2 hours, the cases, even more. And when the doctor, physician, they go monitor their vitals, they're dead. The heart is not beating, the lung, they're not breathing, there's no brain activity. So medically, they're dead. But then something happens that the monitors there can see, can detect. And that's going to be known after the person, the patient going through that experience returns. And that person is going to say what happens when the heart stopped, when there was no brain waves, no brain activity, no breathing. That person is going to say that during that time, supposedly that she was dead, and they trying to revive the person, be it in a place, a local accident through CPR or in a hospital. The person is going to return and say what happened during that time of unconsciousness, physical unconsciousness. That he or she left the body, came out of the physical body, hovered on top, saw everything that was happening, heard everything that was being said, memorized things that he or she saw, memorized words that he or she heard, and then left the physical space through the roof normally, left that material, the physical area, and normally was met by someone. One uh, common feature in this near-death experience is a tunnel. The person see in the darkness, there's a moment of darkness between the physical event and then the spiritual event that's going to happen. Darkness and then a bright light, small light in that darkness that attracts the attention. The person focus on that, see that light expanding. The light turns into the opening of a tunnel, and he or she feels this irresistible urge to go into the tunnel, goes through the tunnel, their speed, and then the person lands in a place that he or she calls a spiritual place. There's light. That's a good one. There's the bad experiences too, but we're talking about the bright ones because that's what we're going to experience. We don't want the other one. And in this spiritual realm that they say, they're going to meet relatives that they thought, I mean, they were dead physically. They thought that they would never see them again. And people who were afraid of death before that experience are not afraid of death anymore. And they see friends, relatives, intermingle, talk, and they have this feeling they want to stay because it's a beautiful experience. They're there, back with friends. Place is beautiful. There's music, there's light, there's color, all things that they think this is life. So they want to stay, but they can't stay because it's not their time yet. And there's one thing that is interesting, peculiar, that happens to many of them, not all of them, but a great number of people. They report that. And that is a life review. They're going to review their life. It's something that happens spontaneously to them. Sometimes they're guided by someone. In the life review, they see their lives since the day they're born here on earth. Some of them even see their birth, and people were there with them. They see friends, they see everything. It's fast, it's overwhelming, detailed. And mostly what draws their attention is not the good they did. It is the bad. It is the things that we are not, that it's not our priority now. but they can see the importance then service to others, love. All the things that we learned in the Christ that Jesus taught us, that we learn in Spiritism, love one another, be compassionate, respect, accept. All those things they see that they should do, but they're not doing. And that's something that has a huge impact and a feeling of shame, a feeling of shame. And this is science. All this reports, their patients tell people who research that, doctors, psychologists, psychiatrists, people interested in it, in the phenomenon. And we learn that in Spiritism. The spirits tell us after when those return, about the day that we're not going to return, that we're going to do the same thing, how we lived our lives here. Luckily, they tell us that we're going to see things that we still have to do in order to evolve or to progress. We're going to see that things that we still need to work on. And we ask for another opportunity, another incarnation on earth. And it is allowed, permitted, because to evolve is our destiny. We're coming back here for as long as we need to, until we reach a level that we go to higher realms. Now, in these experiences of the life review, there's an aspect, one most beautiful experience is when the person is met by what they call a being of light. They don't give a name because there's no name. Some reserve say, seems like Jesus Christ or whoever. But they call it a being of light, even if they don't see their face. But they feel this presence. They feel this light, this warmth, this love of that person. That approaches and helps them many times in the life review, pointing out. But the one thing that I say, but don't feel bad. You'll do better next time. You made a mistake, fix it. And that's how we learn, by making mistakes. And there's one that before they show, they ask a question when we get there, right? With this being of light. Before you see anything, they ask, what have you done so far with your life that is worth showing me? What have you done with your life to show me? And you need to answer that. What have you done? The person who had an amazing near-death experience, he was when he was 19. He used to be a Boy Scout. And then he was in the presence of this being. And he couldn't see, when a guy asked him, and he said, what have I done? 19 years old, he was in the army getting trained to go to war. And I was a Boy Scout. That's showman. That doesn't count. How much? The question is this: how much have you loved in your life to show me? How much good have you done in your life to show me? How many tears have you dried to show me? How many suffering people have you comforted to show me? That's the work of the Spirit. That's the question that they're asking. And that is the question, we're going to have an answer for that, if it's not for a person to our own consciousness. So when we are awake, we awake from this slumber through whatever crisis it is, through COVID now, through our own personal crisis that we have, be it whatever it is, that we take those opportunities to go inside ourselves and ask those questions. What am I doing with my life? What is it that I need to change in order to reach the top of the pyramid? Self actualization. Be among that minority that is not worried, the minority that are worried about making something of themselves. And we strive that daily, every day, every day, trying to be a little bit better than we were before. Love more, be more charitable, help, kindness. Dalai Lama was asked what was his religion. He said, "My religion is kindness." Kindness. So our proposal is to live our life daily the best that we can, spiritually, morally, intellectually, everything, all that makes us better, that makes us closer to what God or what Jesus taught us. Love God above all things and your neighbor as yourself. And doing the best that we can to be the best that we can be here in those aspects. So that when our turn comes to meet that being of light, or be it even our consciousness, we are not even going to be asked, what have you done with your life to show me? We will show him our greatness in the radiant light emanating from our being. No question asked. We're going to show the answer by what we made of ourselves in this incarnation that we are here. That is our proposal. And that is something that we should strive to do every day. Thank you very much. You have a wonderful evening. Sleep well. And then tomorrow, when you awake, then you're going to wake better than when you went to sleep. God bless you, bless us all. And it was a great pleasure being here with you.